not to extend your working longer than it needs to be, but there are considerable sportsmen in the area, and that was one of the things that popped into my head.
So will you have to schedule a public hearing for our section?
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing I was requesting was for the Ross Corner Road east-west idea.
Oh, okay.
Which is a separate issue. Right?
That's the
I
remaining.
mean,
But that's what you decided you're not going to consider anyway, so.
well, we certainly, at this point, unless someone from this board who voted in the affirmative decides that they wanted to change this, all right, then effective January 1, this road gets renamed, all right? Now, certainly you have the right to say, hey, we'd like to have that reconsidered, and the proposal would be an east-west or whatever the case may be, but unless there's, you know, a huge change in, I guess, the rationale, okay, the Ross Corner Road will remain from the unfinished part of that all the way through across Buff Brook. Everything else will remain as Ross Corner Road. That doesn't change. The
Is that-
proposal that you've offered may very well to you know, come back to a public hearing to say, does it make sense to not go through with what we've done and rename east and west? I think that's what your proposal is, and I just went back and reviewed your email quickly to refresh my mind. But
Or you leave the business done, as what we've done, and you go east Ross Corner Road from where it comes into Middle Road now, and goes out to Buff Brook, is it? And then go from there west Ross Corner Road. So if there's further development, which probably will be sometime in there, then they've already got an east Ross Corner Road. And you don't tamper with what we've already done.
so I think we just, you know, he's submitted a request on the 4th. I think that has to really kind of get percolated up through Nancy and Christina, and we'll go from there, but
We don't need to submit a request for the renaming part of our road, right? For that public hearing, you guys.
I'm not sure where you guys have left that, right?
It was, the three recommendations were Old Schoolhouse Road, Henderson Brook, or Old Middle Road. Those were of the residents that were here, those were the three names for the discontinued portion of Middle Road that were brought up. We haven't made a decision beyond that, what to name it, have a public hearing, or anything else.
What day did you have the request? I thought you said...
His email is November 4th.
Oh.
Yes, it was sent to...
Okay, so there hasn't been a date picked for the hearing?
No.
Okay.
That was just the date his request was made.
Okay.
Get it done, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you could just send the town administrator an email, just so we have something, you know, on record, you know, requesting, you know, the public hearing on that.
Okay.
So, because a lot of this is kind of getting convoluted in with the renaming of the tarred portion of the Ross Corner Road on the easterly side. And then it sort of brought everybody else in around there, so.
Is that your sign that Dancing with the Stars is on, or?
Time to go!
I think that isn't that,
Robin Hood, isn't it?
I think that's your Zumba lesson, David.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you, just as a formality, just so we have something there that, you know, get that on,
Yep.
get flowing.
And we do public hearing and vote that night?
We have to have separate public
Separate.
hearings, yeah.
Okay.
The vote can be done that
It can
night.
be
if
done on
it's-
the same night, but
I
it,
mean, the last one, there was a public hearing, which was...
This is very confusing.
I know, that's why I just wanted to have something.
I don't want to have to rush.
Right.
like-
Why would Mr. Winkle need to send a request if we know we've got three recommendations for renaming the the discontinued portion of Middle Road. We know we need to take care of
Can I
it.
make
We've
a
got
request?
somebody taking the minutes. Why can't we just do that and be done with that piece?
Because I think I'd like to, but I think that we're required to have a public hearing. on it.
Right,
are,
but why do we have to have
He
him
doesn't have
send
to
us a
request
request? We know it needs to be done, let's just do it.
Can we do it next week?
Yeah.
I mean, we
No,
have to
it
do
has-
it.
it
We
has
have
to be-
post it for so
It has to be
many days.
posted so many days in advance.
But it's like 14 days, we could do it the week after.
Yeah.
So we would be looking at the 29th.
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of, I know it's the direction we're gonna head, so we might as well just,
And the three recommendations would be the old Schoolhouse Road, or was it Red Schoolhouse Road?
is there another?
Red School.
Schoolhouse
I think it was
Road?
red.
I think it was Red Schoolhouse Road, Old Middle Road, and Henderson Brook Road.
One thing I noticed when CMP, when we had the outages, I would go to the website that listed all the roads that were out. in
Oh,
Meadowbrook.
they, yeah.
But there was
I
a
live on
red,
Chadbourne Ridge Road, and it's called Bradeen Ridge Road in CMP's database.
yeah, because they have a red schoolhouse road.
Yeah, do not, I mean, if there's any suggestion to anybody, do not look at what CMP calls. What you have to do is understand what when they put poles in originally, like on Daring Ridge Road, part of it's Clough Road, part of it is Calapa Road, I believe, right? You won't find Daring Ridge Road listed much, right? But you need, do yourself a favor and at least understand what they call your road, because it doesn't necessarily mean is what the town calls it. We asked them several years ago to change their database, and of course, they've got the same problem that everybody else does, is they have a line that's named that
Right.
instead of, so there's a lot of confusion when it comes to power outages, plus the inability of CMP to react to most of them.
So could we say that on the 29th, we're going to have a public hearing to reconsider the discontinued portion of Middle Road to be renamed Red Schoolhouse Road, Old Middle Road, or Henderson Brook Road?
Fine. The-
Because I think that the notice has to be specific into potential names if we want to take a vote that night.
Also, a public hearing on what Mr. Fennell was talking about, or not?
I guess.
Yes, that's it.
I'd like to request, Mr. Fennell will obviously have to, I don't know if I get your name right, but from what the discussion has been here tonight, we're gonna hold a public hearing for, called Old Middle Road for now, and they're gonna vote. One of your concerns is mailing and, using up checks and that type of thing. The longer that we prolong this, the shorter of a time frame people have to do address correction. I guess I'd try and make this all simple and ask you to take your request out and move forward with just renaming the one road that needs to be renamed. And have Mr. Passon handle his issue. So that's a request to you, I guess.
And that's, I guess, where I'm getting confused is what exactly is Mr. Fennell requesting we have a public hearing on? Is it to call the dirt portion of Ross Corner Road one thing and the tar portion another thing? Or to just split the dirt portion of Ross Corner Road at Buck Brook and have an east and a west? If it's gonna be a public hearing to rename the unpaved portion of Ross Corner Road to one thing and the paved portion, then that's a reconsideration of the vote. I mean, it's just, we're around the barn here 20 different times.
Well,
And I would also point out that the request is for east and west Ross Corner, and the whole issue here is Ross Corner. That, from my perspective of what everybody has said and has heard, is that the Ross Corner is the issue. That's what gets confused with going up West Road to Ross Corner. So, I don't even believe that east and west is even a viable name, for.
Well, I thought we had that discussion the night that we had the public hearing, and there was some discussion of, just take from the corners, right, and add 1,000 to, or 2,000 or whatever to the street numbers. But that doesn't and it gets back to what the public safety folks sent down from the state, as well as what Matt, the chief Moores had to say, was the fact that it's one paved road through. I think that's really what drove, certainly from my perspective, the decision. So if what what Patrick is suggesting here is that, you know, we toss that out and rename the entire piece of Rosconna Road and keep it east and west. I think that's contrary to the decision that we've already made, and unless there's some real rationale that says we've kind of fumbled this to begin with, I'm not sure that having another public hearing on it gets to that.
Unless unless the request is from the corner, where the Rosconna Road comes into the middle road now and goes to Buff Brook, and call that, and break that up into east and west. But otherwise, if we were re-looking at going back on the decision we made on calling the whole road, the whole paved road, the middle road, I'm not willing to go there. I've heard the presentation. It sounded a good idea, but I think.
Well, I mean, with all due respect to Mr. Fennell, I mean, you know, you've got additional information. You know, one of the first things is talking about getting checks changed, all that. We went through that at the public hearings. I'm not sure that that's new and additional information that would enter into this, okay? There were the deed call-outs and stuff that talk about Middle Road or Rosconna Road. Those all may go back to other named roads and whatnot, and I think we've gone through all of those kind of things. So, again, if that's, I'm not sure that's new information that says, well, we didn't have that information when we made a decision, and I would beg to differ, right? That I think that in the two public hearings that we had, we've kind of aired out most of that stuff. And it's certainly more than two public hearings, because it went back to early summer, I guess, or spring or whatever when we started this. So, and I understand that, you know, there's some historical stuff that comes into play here, but the historical stuff has been all over this town. And a perfect example is what CMP call, you know, people that go to the transfer station, go up Bennett Hill Road, used to be Deering Ridge Road, okay, back in the day. So now Deering Ridge Road goes from Hollis to Weber Road. So things change, and there's historical call-outs that still refer to Clough Road or Cooper Hill, or whatever the case may be. So if I know that, you know, get your packet up in front of me, okay? So I'm not sure that what you're offering, because I think your proposal, you know, let's put this right, your proposal is to undo the renaming of Rosconna Road to Middle Road and call it East Rosconna Road, the paved portion East Rosconna Road, and the unpaved West Rosconna Road. Is that is your proposal?
As it is today.
Right. So it would remain the same, only with the moniker of East and West.
Right.
Right.
And I had spoken to the president of the historical committee, and he had a similar idea of breaking it at a different part. But thinking of the sportsmen, snowmobilers and so forth, decided to bring it in towards Buff Brook instead of just at the intersection. But it did, my request did include the whole road.
So I guess if anything, this board needs to digest what Patrick has presented. Doesn't mean that we have to go forward with a public hearing. I think we just need to make a determination. Do we go forward with a public hearing as he's requested, or the information that he's provided is thank you very much, and, you know, we're not moving off from what we're doing.
Well, can we deny a public hearing?
Good question. I guess we can at least run that by. Certainly would like Nancy's input, only because I think that gives us, I mean, somebody could request a public hearing every week.
I know,
Right.
but I'm just, you know, I don't agree with anything Pat is saying, okay?
So let's
But-
take everything that he's done. If we want to, my suggestion is that we break that down, have Nancy determine, you know, can we or can we not, and we bring it back next week and resolve that once and for all. Either we're going to consider the proposal, or we're not going to consider the proposal.
I mean, I've thought we basically said that about 20 minutes ago.
I'm
You know,
fine,
that,
but
you know, that
I
our
just want to
concern
make
was
sure that
the
everybody,
driveway.
you know, he's bringing up the issue of, hey, I provided you all this information on November 4th, which he did, right? If we want to consider that, fine. If we want to not, then that's fine with me too. I'm just,
I'll be very upfront with you, Mr. Fennell. I had no desire to change my vote on what it was previously regarding
like what?
the portion of the road. I'm getting a sense that that's the general consensus of the remaining part of the board. So I really don't see what could possibly be gained by having a public hearing regarding what your proposal is for the entire length. If it were, as Mr. Gale indicates, from the dirt portion of Ross Corner Road that intersects with Middle Road, extended through to the tarred portion of Ross Corner Road that's on the Long Causeway side, if it's your intent to differentiate between west and east on that for the sake of recreational enthusiasts so that they'll know where they are at some point in terms of how they can respond to that, then there may be some merit to having your public hearing on that. But otherwise, I don't see that happening. And I say that, you know, not because I want to, you know, diminish your spirit from presenting things before the board, because that's certainly not my intent. I'd love to have people come in here and express their views and feel as though their views have been heard and we just didn't automatically turn them off. But I think in this particular case, I need to be upfront and honest with you, and I just don't see it happening. So if you care to entertain, you know, Mr. Abbott's suggestion and withdraw your request, then, you know, that's fine. Or if you want to resubmit to reduce the length of the entire road that you think might need some tweaking in order to establish where you are, then that's certainly a prerogative as well. You have the opportunity to respond, sir.
Okay, well, with all due respect to Todd, I understand the problems you've had. My request will stand as was presented. Respect for sportsmen and residents of Ross Corner Road. I know there were some that were against changing the name of Ross Corner Road. There's about 40 or so addresses on the Ross Corner Road. Surprisingly, there aren't many here from the Ross Corner Road, so whether that can be taken as they don't care where it goes, or they don't have time to make it here for 6 o'clock, I don't know, but my request stands as it is.
Well, I know that we did an extensive mailing to get the original notice out, so that, you know, I think most people were aware that we were debating this issue. And I think that we've had so many public hearings related to this that people have had an ample opportunity to have themselves heard. And in absence of that, we always have a hearing and delegation preceding, or just for a few moments into our meetings, where they have the opportunity to, you know, have their say before the board, and nobody has exercised that either. That it comes to a point where we start beating a dead horse. And so, but certainly, you know, I don't want to sway you from your original intent. I just want to be upfront with you, that's all.
Okay, I was just trying to present more ideas to the board.
Okay.
So,
All right.
So my suggestion is, because we have a specific request, that we put that as an agenda item, and it's either a yes or no. We either go forward with it or with the process, or we don't. That's not really what we talked about with this agenda item tonight. It was a vote that we were going to reconsider, and I think that was generated from the workshop, so.
And we'll get yours on the agenda as soon as we can, Mr. Whitcomb.
So the 29th for that one.
29. Any further discussion on this item? I noticed that the road commissioner is present. Do you have anything that you'd wish to say regarding this issue? Or?
I'm not even sure what you're talking about.
Oh, that takes care of
I have no
that.
idea what you're
Let's
talking
not go
about.
there.
I'm in
Yeah, thank you, Doug.
Moving on.
Okay, we'll continue on then. All right. To discuss a vote to confirm the appointment of Sean Shoemaker to the Saco River Corridor Commission for a 3-year term to expire on November 30th, 2014.
Question I have is, he said that he hasn't been able to make meetings, but that has resolved itself, so he's going to be able to. So then I would make a motion to reappoint Sean Shoemaker to the Saco River Corridor Commission.
I'll second it.
There's been a motion made and seconded to confirm the appointment of Sean Shoemaker to the Saco River Corridor Commission for a 3-year term to expire on November 30th, 2014. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Our old business, review the draft audit. I know that you've been away for an extended period of time. Have you had an opportunity to look this over?
Yeah, I looked it over. I've sent a couple of comments to Nancy. I think, unless I know her and Julie had some questions, but I think generally what they presented here is what we expected, probably more favorable relative to what wasn't overdrawn. I think we really went down to two accounts that, the general government, which includes general assistance, and we knew we had the office issue up front. Public safety was $3,800 and the county tax was $22,000, and that was my question, is how do we overdraw county tax? But that was something that I sent back to Nancy, so,
That was
So-
2,000, right?
yeah, 2265.
You got the answer to that?
No?
I can tell you what the answer is,
Okay.
because I asked last year. It's
Okay.
because payment didn't get made on time, and so we got imposed a penalty.
Oh, okay.
So what do we need to do to expedite this so that we have the final
I think
draft?
as long as Nancy and Julie are all set, then I think it's a matter of getting back to Sharman and Chris saying that, we don't have any questions, or if there's some questions that have to be resolved, then I think it's now in their hands. I mean, I don't see anything there that's glaring that says, the auditors missed something here, but.
Yeah, we had talked about this all last year. I'd just like to see this audit voted on by this board before we seriously get into this budget season, so we know what we're coming from.
I think the auditors we had said we wanted to see a final audit by mid-November.
Yep.
It's mid-November.
Yes.
Where's the final audit,
Yeah,
Much more
and I think
mid
that with all due respect to the auditor, he's given us a draft, asked for comments. I'm not sure that we've given any comments back. If we haven't, then he can't finalize it. If
Right.
we have, then fine, let's finalize it, put it on next week's agenda, and we'll vote to accept it.
Add that to next week's agenda.
And can we see if Ron or Chris can
Chris,
come in next
Let's
week?
do it.
Yeah, and I think either one is acceptable.
I know Ron likes to come in when they do it, but rather than waiting weeks on end.
Yeah, that's
for
the real
his
problem, is
schedule.
waiting his schedule, so.
Okay, moving right along, discuss and vote on the abutting lot offered for sale on the corner of Black Cove and the Townhouse Road. I don't know how many other of you have spoken with Nancy regarding this, but there is no water rights or other rights, connected with this. It just is that sliver of piece of property that abuts the town property. And in my mind, it's too much money for what we're getting, and I'm not really interested in purchasing it.
Ain't right?
I think it's a waste of any taxpayer money.
I would
I
move
think-
we table this indefinitely.
Well, should you answer the guy saying the town's not interested?
Well, there's
Sounds
two
interesting.
requests, two different property owners, two different parcels of property, one on Black Cove, Back Cove, and one on Townhouse
Oh,
Road. So
okay.
we've got two separate property owners that are waiting to hear from the board on whether we want to buy their property or not. I think one was actually a donation and one was
Well,
purchase.
when this first came up, my response, I think at one of these meetings was, the guy wants to donate the land to the town of Waterboro, that's fine. If we're going to buy it, then there's really no interest. I mean, ultimately, if he starts paying taxes on it, we're going to own it anyway.
I'll move that we direct the town administrator to get a letter out saying that we're not interested in purchasing the property.
In purchasing the
Fine.
property. But if they wish to donate an adjacent
If we
portion,
want to donate it, and then we can expand our parking lot, great.
Well,
You're talking about,
Yeah, the other one was a lot, I think, in Lake Arrowhead.
in Lake
Lake
Arrowhead.
Arrowhead, the donation.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
donation is a lot
Okay.
in Lake Arrowhead,
The
not...
donation,
that's right.
but the donation has to go
I thought we
before
already
the
done-
town
Yeah, we already
meeting.
resolved that.
Right, it's got to go before town meeting.
No, we decided we didn't want it.
Oh, okay, well,
So-
we've always put those
And this
before
one-
the town, but...
this one the
You will
same.
have Nancy just say that you're not interested.
Yep.
Second.
So there's been a motion.
Well, Dennis made the motion first, and there was
But
no
nobody seconded it,
action or
so-
anything
Okay,
on it, so...
and he seconded. Motion's
No.
been made.
No.
seconded.
He made a motion.
Well, I heard somebody say second over here.
No,
Dueling motions here?
Dennis made a motion, there was no second, no act, nobody responded. And then John made a motion to say no, thank you, and
the
David
town
seconded
administrator,
that
yep.
motion.
Ah, okay. So the motion before the floor right now is John's motion to send a letter saying that we're not interested in purchasing the property. And it was seconded by David. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Is that a buildable lot?
No. According
It's
to...
a little sliver of land out here in Moonpenny Lane and Townhouse Road.
That's why he wants to get rid of it.
I was just curious, I mean, you didn't say, so I was curious, but
Yeah.
for the people that might be watching this, whether it was
Yeah, it was point, it wasn't even an acre, if I remember
No,
right.
it's a little piece of...
It's a little sliver, yeah. And the price, I think, that was attached to that was,
Neither parcel was buildable.
yeah. The chair will entertain a motion to accept warrants for bills and payroll.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the warrants and bills for payroll. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of November 8th, 2011.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes of November 8th, 2011. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Abstain.
Excuse me. We have one abstention. Motion still carried. Pending decisions is a public service announcements, the committee self-evaluations, to work with Logan Circle residents on water runoff, the water runoff issue, and I believe that that's
That's-
something
yep.
that you're working with them, with the road association. I know that the road commissioner is looking into that, because he has presented us with a
Two issues.
pictorial review.
Logan Circle, there's two separate issues. There's one that pertains to the residents and the runoff that's into the lake on one end, and then the other issue that the road commissioner is working on is on the entrance that leads into where Fay Park is, and that runoff issue there. So there's two separate issues pertaining to Logan Circle.
Is that how you see it as well?
You gotta remember, if you want, just, you gotta remember that it was state money available to fix them. And they couldn't get an agreement between the landowners down there to do anything, and the state finally said, spend the money somewhere else, 'cause that was all laid out at one time to spend that money down in on this, one of the two issues that she's talking about, not the drainage issue that I'm working on.
Right, the
but
water
drainage-
runoff into the lake.
the water runoff into the lake. There was funds available to take care of that, and they couldn't get the residents to agree, so the state just stepped out and said no. So keep that in your mind when you're working on this.
Yeah, and I think that Selectman Gerard has that in mind.
Yes.
And I know that our park director, Mr. DeAngelis, also has, he was on, apparently on a committee at that time.
Way back.
Way
That's right.
back when he had direct dealings with individuals that weren't receptive to a spirit of cooperation,
Bell.
let's say. Review the driveway opening permit language.
Me and Doug are still working on that.
Okay. The Economic Development Committee status.
That ranks up there with the status of the Public Safety Committee.
I know, it's just ranks up there with every other committee that people.
Conservation Commission.
Just to back up one question, you know, as far as kind of the city, I was wondering where mine stands as far as making the private part of things, you know, road back to public road that.
Don't we have that before the?
Dropped off, I haven't seen it anywhere on the agenda.
I think that was forwarded to the road review committee. That was my understanding at the last meeting we
I
had.
think maybe we asked that it get forwarded. I don't know that it did or not.
I thought that was a request for the sign was gonna go to road review committee. And that he was gonna wait to hear from Nancy, because she was doing some checking on status of what's abandoned and what isn't. And then she sent that email from Attorney Cole that said that it,
Doesn't.
yeah, his opinion was that it is still discontinued.
And we had an opposing opinion, I believe, from the road commissioner who said that public funds were expended on a portion of,
Right, and then the town attorney says,
road commission was an attorney.
no,
it says occasional maintenance for public safety purposes doesn't cut off the 30-year statute.
okay.
So even if public funds were expended within the 30-year time frame, if it was occasional maintenance, it doesn't negatively affect the abandoned road status.
Okay. So would you see that this is brought before the road review committee so that they can look at it in conjunction with the road commissioner as to whether or not we need to go back to town meeting to accept
Is
it?
that really a part of the road review committee, or isn't it our responsibility?
We can ask the road review committee for a recommendation.
Yeah, because they go up and look at it, to see if, you know, if it's going to meet the town specs, you know, with the road commissioner, and whether or not this is something we should undertake.
I'll talk to the chair of the road review committee too, Kristen.
If you've got another thought on it, Dave, I'd certainly,
Well, no, I just think it's passing a buck here, and, I mean, to me, it doesn't meet the, but, go ahead, you know, I'm just raising the issue.
well, I didn't view it as passing the buck, I viewed it as getting another opinion on the best way to proceed.
You know, poor words on my part.
Yes,
That's where I've been tonight, we was over at the road review committee, reviewing these roads and everything, and the board was requested to try to straighten out some of these issues on various roads. And we had a meeting over there at the same time you had a meeting here tonight, so.
yeah, I know, because that came up when we were looking at one of our earlier budget items, excuse me, not budget
Old
items.
business.
Old business.
new business number 2?
No, it was new business number 2, thank you. To discuss the vote on the culvert replacement on the Weber Road and Logan Circle. We still hadn't had, how much it's gonna cost and where the money was coming from. So we voted to table that until you provided us with that information, because you weren't here. We knew you were at another meeting, so we can't obviously be in 2 places at once.
Well, I came just to see if there was any questions you people had, and to ask one simple question.
I have a question. Did you get the new tractor?
The new tractor won't be available, well, the new tractor's sitting in Portland, but the implements for it, you want a report on it? It's pretty simple. We've traded the tractor with the existing implements or the backhoe attachment. It was gonna cost $4,300 to take it off and put it on a new machine. It was gonna cost $3,500 to buy all the new piping, $1,700 for a bucket. And when we got done, they were gonna allow us $5,000 more money to trade it in with it, and it was gonna cost us $3,000 more money to buy one with a new bucket and new slinger and all new piping. So, we haven't signed the papers on it, but they've ordered all of the stuff. There was a 3-week delivery time on it, and Dennis, you probably don't know it, while you was gone, we had transmission troubles with the tractor again. So I come in and see the board, and we traded that tractor for a new one, not what I wanted to do, but it just seems like the troubles don't seem to be going away. And they're gonna eat the $1,285 valve that was defective, that was from the original tractor, that may have caused the original problem, and the labor, they're gonna eat that. So sometime the first or second week of December, we should have the new tractor.
Back to your question.
Excuse me.
It should be under review, and as soon as we get a report back from them, we'll place it on the agenda. We'll make sure that you're notified. Either I'll take a drive up again and chat with you, or we'll have a letter sent to you. In all probability, it'll be both. So, are you okay with that? Anybody have anything for agenda items for next week that hasn't already been tabled until next week?
Would like to see if we have a contract in place with the water district on office space, one that's active, and if not, when was the last time we had one? Sounds like that's something we need to resolve.
Yeah.
And could we also get a tickler regarding the water survey in, maybe 4 weeks or so, because we've been waiting for it for a year, so rather than it sitting here again.
I'm thinking probably not next week, but the week after. We should probably put a cap on the time I was thinking the week's action list for Gordon and I to come up with a draft report, a draft evaluation for the town administrator, and maybe the week after next have an executive session with her before the meeting. Does that make sense? That would give us a time, that would give us 2 weeks to come up with a draft.
Well, what we've done in the past is the 2 people designated have met with her privately in the office. I don't think we didn't formalize it
Well,
as an executive session.
I think the draft has to need,
Right.
we write the draft has got to come before
Okay.
the full board, that they endorse it. And then, and Nancy needs to be, offer to be present at that time, and then after that, if there's further
Okay.
discussion, I think we can
So
go.
that's another executive session, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And how much time do you want for that?
Can we do that for like the week after next? Is
The
there,
29th?
yeah? Is that, Gordon, is that?
Isn't it something that we can present that the individual selectmen can comment on and get back to us, rather than having a whole meeting on it?
Yeah. I mean, we
And
could-
then You and I will meet with Nancy.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. We'll put it together, get copies out to selectmen and, okay, fine,
Okay. All right.
forget it.
It's got a big line driven right through it.
Okay, very good. Is there anything else for discussion on agenda items? Okay. Reminders, Wednesday, November 16th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., the York County Community Action is taking fuel assistance requests. You must have an appointment. You can call 324-5762 to schedule that, and I believe that phone number can also be found on the town's website. Also on Wednesday, November 16th at 7 p.m., the planning board will meet at the town hall. On Thursday, November 17th at 5:30 p.m., the selectmen's goal-setting meeting will be at the town hall. On Thursday, November 17th at 6:30 p.m., the garden club will meet at the old town hall. On Thursday, September 17th at 7 p.m., the zoning board of appeals will meet at the town hall. So there'll be a lot of activity going on the night of the 17th. On Monday, November 21st, at 6:30 p.m., the 12-town group will be meeting at the town hall. On Monday, November 21st, at 7 p.m., the Charter Review Commission will meet at the Old Town Hall. On Tuesday, November 22nd, at 6 p.m., the Selectmen's meeting at the Town Hall. Reporting at that time will be the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Town Planner, and Code Enforcement Officer, unless that has been changed today that I'm not aware of. Okay, so that's still going on. You said you had one question. Did you get to ask that? Would you care to ask that now? I'll give you the opportunity before we close this out.
I'm concerned about FEMA money. I'm at a loss here with FEMA money. You know, we expended money on these emergencies and supposed to be reimbursed by FEMA. And I'm just concerned what's going to happen if FEMA doesn't reimburse us for that money.
I shall add that to this week's action list and find out.
I think it's a simple answer. You know, it might not seem as simple, but if FEMA does not respond, then we have no choice. We have one of two choices. You either eat that out of your current budget, or we go back to the townspeople and take that out of unappropriated surplus. So we have a special, if FEMA does come through with reimbursement, they're not going to reimburse 75%, then we have to go back to the townspeople and say, we expended this money because of the storm, and the only place that we have available to take that unexpected money is out of unappropriated surplus. Or we eat it out of the current budget. And I'm not sure that anybody wants to, you know, it's unplanned expenses, so I think that's.
I just think before we get down to sometime when somebody looks at me and says, you've overdrafted your budget, and every report I get says I've got X number of dollars left, but way over here somewhere is $27,000 or $30,000 that's been expended. It's not taken out of my budget, and I only got $20,000, and I walk in here and the five of you look at me and say, how come you overexpended your budget by $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000? You know, we've got to shut down.
I agree.
Or somebody's got to, you know, tell me what's going to happen if they don't come through.
I couldn't agree with you more, right? And the fact of the matter is that we have a town administrator and a treasurer that need to stay on top of what's going on with FEMA. And that shouldn't be a surprise in another 3 or 4 months that we go, oh, we're not going to get the money, all right? Or we don't know where the money is. Last year, we had money come in and we didn't even, it was not brought to the attention of anybody that the money was here, all right? So I think the onus is on the town administrator and the treasurer to stay close to where we are with FEMA. And certainly we, you know, Pam is an asset when it comes to I mean, she's got a pretty good, you know, nail of, are we gonna get the money or aren't we gonna get the money?
Well, I've asked, and I wish Nancy was here, because she'd give you the same answer she gave me, you know? Nobody seems to have any information at this point, and, you know, we're just, we get to the point where it becomes a question. And I don't want to get drilled, and I definitely am not going to go for an overdraft. I mean, we'll shut down.
Then, to be on the safe side, we had this discussion with Nancy, we ought to schedule a special town meeting in February or March to take X amount of dollars, because you're gonna know, because all that money you're waiting for. And we have a vote that says if that money doesn't come in, it's covered with unappropriated surplus. And then it's pretty clean when we go into, we'd have a pretty firm number what that means, right? We fix that number, it comes out of unappropriated surplus if we don't get the FEMA money. If it's a timing issue, you're gonna get the FEMA money, it's gonna go into unappropriated surplus anyway.
The question is, Dennis, this is not, you know, keeping track of my budget's my responsibility. Taking care of unanticipated monies that do not arrive here kind of falls out of my category. It falls to the Board of Selectmen and to Nancy, or the town administrator, whomever it may be, okay? And, you know, I just want to make sure that of the 7 people involved in this process, and I think there's the 5 of you, the administrator and myself, that I don't get left holding the bag and standing up in town meeting and everybody looking at me saying, why'd you overdraft your budget? You know, that's not going to work for me.
When do we have we've got a workshop coming up with Pam, is it on the 29th?
No, it's next week, 22nd.
It's next week, so maybe next week, we're gonna have Pam here, and we can kind of,
She's usually got a pretty good feel for.
Is this because of the hurricane and the storms we've had unexpectedly, or whatnot?
Yes, it's all money that we have been declared we was eligible to get reimbursement from FEMA. Okay, there's labor, there's equipment, there's brush, there's all kinds of stuff that's involved in this. Nancy has a very clear record of it, David, but, you know, right now, it's just hanging out of there. The money has been spent to pay these bills, and I have money over here, you know, and I don't want somebody to say to me, you know, why did you spend all your money when you knew you had this bill over here? Because
First of all, the money that has been spent should show that it's come out of your budget already.
yeah, I'm not sure that it does.
Okay, so that's the first thing that we need to make sure of.
So I guess we might need an 8th person in this think tank, the treasurer, to find out what's been paid and what hasn't.
And Ben, I think, you know, we could say if we don't have a good feeling about FEMA by January 1st, we set up a town, a special town meeting, and we ask the people in the end of January as to whether they'll allow us to take the money out of undesignated surplus. And if they say no, then it's out of your budget. You know it's out of your budget, and we got to not do some stuff.
And that's that.
And if they say yes, then okay. And if we get the FEMA money in, it goes into undesignated surplus for next year. I think, you know, and the only issue there is, when do we have the special town meeting? When do we
I
do
think
we
you
do
have to
that?
do that sooner than later.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting do it tomorrow, but I think it has to be fairly early in the calendar year, while we still got months left in the fiscal year to draw a conclusion of where we are with that.
So maybe we look at it in January or something like that. If we,
Well, my point is that everybody's going to be looking at every dollar we have. The amount of money you're going to start into the budget process. If this has got to come out of unappropriated surplus, and you've only got a grand total of X number of dollars in unappropriated surplus to take out, and then we come down to June and the money isn't there, and then everybody says, well, we had our town meeting in May, and, you know, we drew out 400,000 when we only should have taken out 350. Now you want 30,000 more dollars. No, we're not going to do it. because you shouldn't have spent it if you knew you had this capital expense out there that you didn't allow for.
And I think going into the budgeting process, it would be prudent, based on the amount of FEMA issues that we've had in the last 4 or 5 years, to have a warrant article that is worded that in the event of a declared national disaster where we expend municipal funds for roads, drainage, whatever the case may be, that qualifies to be reimbursed by FEMA, that money be used out of unappropriated surplus until such time it gets reimbursed. That would make this go away.
Well, that's what, but you gotta word it a little different than that, because it might not get reimbursed. If it's supposed to be reimbursed and then doesn't, you gotta cover it.
Right.
But you see where I'm coming from is, I don't wanna end up, behind the 8 ball here, and the way it looks to me, that could happen. We've got a huge expense on Daigle Drive for an emergency, the washout that we took out of the budget with no funds. We got the M.R.S.A. road that we took out of the budget with no funds to cover it. Everything above what was funded by FEMA and the state of Maine, and, so we've already hit the budget hard for 2 major projects that was unplanned for. And this will just be a killer if you take this money
Well,
out of the
the
budget.
Mass Camp Road we planned for, it just wasn't planned well enough.
Well, it wasn't budgeted, and those are all paid, by the way.
Do you know that the application has been sent in for FEMA on this?
Yes.
Well,
It has been?
Nancy had reported to us when she sent it in, because there was a specific deadline.
Okay, all right.
yeah,
I think,
the-
part of the concern is, you follow the news and FEMA keeps saying, we have no money, we have no money, we have no money. So I think that's a very legitimate
Well,
concern.
they come out 2 weeks ago, a week or 2 ago, in the paper and said they weren't gonna fund anything. They had no money for Cumberland and York County, right?
Yep.
So I think it's a legitimate question, that's why I'm here tonight. As we started the budget process, I just, we're really hurt from these unplanned for expenditures, and if this one doesn't get covered, then we're really hammered.
And I have this on this week's action list because this discussion is not on the agenda, but it does fall into the action list. So we'll discuss it with the town administrator and put it appropriately on next week's agenda for discussion.
Because as far as the discussions that Nancy and I have had, she's done everything that she is supposed to do to this point, but she's not getting any response from anybody in, her questions are going unanswered.
Well,
Well, if we-
that's one of the reasons that we have
An EMA director.
congressional people and senators, right?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. So move. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Good night.